Do you think the media purposely tries to not disclose this kind of information to normal everyday people?
Does the media deliberately keep this out of public debate? To a certain extent, yeah. I don't think it's a big conspiracy though. I think it's got a lot to do with the fact that the issues are so complicated. You can't turn this into a soundbite on TV. You can't turn it into a simple story. The information's out there. You can go and find it, but it's complex and it's a bit tedious and it's quite a lot of numbers. So it doesn't make good news. I mean, you might get this in the Financial Times or the Economist some of the time. So I think it doesn't fit a lot of news values. And in certain instances, there would be lobbying against a newspaper or a medium that started running quite critical stories about this. I mean, they certainly wouldn't be getting much advertising from the banks, I suspect, if they started advocating for this.
Yeah, or such as the Iceland financial crisis and how they dealt with it after that. That's been not put out in the media.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of this. I mean, there's hardly been any discussion, I think, of the sheer scale of the debts that have been incurred by bailing out the banks. Now, in some cases, that's actually been good for governments. There was a few of the banks that the US bailed out, they made profits on when they reprivatised them. So, you've got to be fair about that. But in other cases, it hasn't worked that way. And there's still trillions of dollars of public money that have been transferred into basically private hands. And we're now paying the price of that in the cuts to our welfare, the cuts to our pensions, the pressure to allow companies to operate without constraint because everyone's so desperate for profits, etc. For me, if you follow the money all the way down, it comes back to who controls the money supply. And that's the big debate that we need to have.
Cool, thank you.
Fractional reserve banking, it's a scam, right? It is, right?
Why are
we not prosecuting these guys that are doing this? If it's a scam, if it's a fraud, why aren't we taking them down?
Well, it's illegal.
Why are we letting them get away with it?
It's a legal fraud, and it's gone since, probably the 13th century.
Fraud is fraud.
Well, it depends. It depends on the law. It's not fraud in a legal sense. It's a con because the argument we might make is that the money supply is a sovereign right.
So we need to change the law.
So you need to change the law on this. But be prepared for a very major fight because if you change the nature of
people have wound up dead from attempting to do this.
Absolutely, including Abraham Lincoln.
Yes. How do we stop that? Yeah, I'm well aware of the history. How do we stop these guys? They're gangsters.
Well, I think a lot of the bankers would be very surprised to be called that. But you need to raise consciousness about the nature of the system. And when you look at it in black and white terms, it looks really silly.
I agree.
And even the bankers, you go and talk to the financial investors, and apart from one guy who did have a pinstripe suit and a little spivvy mustache and cackled evilly about deals with Burma, actually most of these guys are pretty down to earth. They've got photos of the kids on the desk. They're ordinary guys. They don't want to ruin the environment. They don't want to wreck the world. They're pretty ordinary people. But they're locked into this system that makes them very rich, but it impoverishes everybody else.